Hello and welcome to World Panorama, the show where we get you a weekly roundup of all major international news and events. I'm Teena Jha. Let's take a look at what made headlines across the world this week. White House condemns Turkey for doubling tariffs on some U.S. imports. Qatar pledges to invest $15 billion in Turkey amid tensions between the NATO allies. Sanctions push Ankara to finding new allies. Argentina peso pushed to all-time low by graft scandal. Turkey financial crisis also hits the South American currency. Argentina's central bank raises rates by 5 percentage points to 45%. Landmark Caspian Sea deal signed by 5 coastal countries. 5 states signed convention on Caspian legal status. Convention seen as vital to break Iran's sense of isolation. Imran Khan sworn in as Pakistan's new Prime Minister. Khan sworn in at ceremony held at President House, swearing in after he defeated Shahbaz Sharif in one-sided election for the post in the National Assembly. And Kofi Annan passes away at the age of 80. Former UN Secretary General was best known for setting the Millennium Development Goals or global targets on issues like poverty and child mortality. The lira has lost around 40% of its value against the US dollar this year, prompting concerns that Turkey's economy, which is heavily reliant on foreign currency loans, could affect other emerging markets. Though still weak, the currency picked up against the dollar on Wednesday after Qatar pledged investment in Turkey following talks with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara. Here's a report.
Turkey doubled tariffs on some U.S. imports, including alcohol, cars, and tobacco, on Wednesday in retaliation to U.S. moves, but the lira rallied further after central banks' liquidity moves had the effect of supporting the currency. Ankara acted amid increased tension between the two NATO allies over Turkey's detention of a Christian American pastor and other diplomatic issues, which have helped send the lira tumbling to record lows against the dollar. The currency has lost more than 40% against the dollar this year, driven by worries over Erdogan's growing influence over the economy and his repeated calls for lower interest rates despite high inflation. A decree signed by President Erdogan doubled Turkish tariffs on passenger cars to 120%, on alcoholic drinks to 140%, and on leaf tobacco to 60%. Tariffs were also doubled on goods such as cosmetics, rice, and coal.
As part of these measures, a presidential decree was issued to impose additional tariffs to some American products, and it was published in the official gazette. We see that the people support our reaction. This is a matter of action and reaction. But as said, Turkey is not in favor of an economic war with anyone.
The United States was the 4th largest source of imports through Turkey last year, accounting for $12 billion of imports, according to IMF statistics. Turkey's exports to the United States last year amounted to $8.7 billion, making it Turkey's 5th largest export market. The White House condemned Turkey's doubling of tariffs on U.S. imports in response to Washington's moves on imports of Turkish goods.
Tariffs from Turkey are certainly regrettable and a step in the wrong direction. The tariffs that the United States placed on Turkey were out of national security interest. Theirs are out of retaliation. I'm not going to get ahead of anything on what we may or may not do in an effort to respond, but certainly we don't support Turkey's decision to retaliate against us protecting our national security interests.
Last week, U.S. President Donald Trump said he had authorized higher tariffs on aluminum and steel imports from Turkey. Washington warned more economic pressures may be in store for Turkey if it refuses to relieve Brunson. The two NATO allies have been at loggerheads over a wide range of issues, including diverging interests in Syria, Ankara's ambition to buy Russian defense systems, and Andrew Brunson, a pastor on trial in Turkey for terrorism charges.
We feel that Turkey and specifically President Erdogan have treated Pastor Brunson, who we know to be a very good person and a strong Christian who's done nothing wrong, very unfairly, very badly, and it's something that we won't forget in the administration.
Meanwhile, Qatar pledged $15 billion of direct investment to Turkey to help shore up the country's financial stability during its ongoing tariff dispute with the United States. Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani made the announcement during a meeting with the Turkish president in Ankara. Last June, when countries including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates cut off diplomatic ties with Qatar, Turkey stood up and supported the isolated Gulf state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Russia, Iran, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan signed a convention on Caspian Sea's legal status on the 12th of August, a matter disputed between the five countries for more than 2 decades. Iran, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan have for more than 2 decades contested the ownership of several oil and gas fields in the Caspian Sea.
After more than 20 years of fraught diplomatic efforts, the 5 littoral Caspian nations, Russia, Iran, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan agreed upon a legal framework for sharing the world's largest inland body of water, which bridges Asia and Europe and has reserves of oil and gas as well as being a habitat for sturgeon. The leaders of the 5 countries who gathered in the Kursk port of Aktau said the agreement signed at the summit included economic aspects as well as security cooperation.
Dear colleagues, I would like to congratulate everyone on the signing of the most important document for all of us, the Caspian states, the convention in the first place and all the agreements we have reached here.
Russian President Vladimir Putin told a room where presidents and foreign ministers were present, "Our summit is exceptional, if not truly epoch-making."
We need to take into consideration that the Caspian Sea is situated close to the troubled spots, the zones of international terrorist activity. I mean the Middle East and Afghanistan. For this reason, our countries have intentions to boost cooperation of special services and border services and also foreign ministries' cooperation.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said the delimitation of oil and gas-rich Caspian Sea bed will require additional agreements between littoral nations.
Also, we have shown in this convention that we stick to the principles of fairness. Although we did not determine the borderlines in this convention, but we marked that countries with coast of particular significance should take a special position. That includes Iran.
Russia was reluctant to allow Turkmenistan to pursue its proposed 300-kilometer gas pipeline to Azerbaijan, which would open its huge cheap gas reserves to a European market at present dominated by Gazprom. The solution, it seems, has been to keep the wording vague and delay divisive decisions. On August 12, the 5 nations, in addition to a further 10 nautical miles of fishing area, beyond which there would be common waters.
Security and stability on the Caspian Sea are determined by a convention which we have signed. Naturally, it opens a wide perspective for the tight cooperation of the Caspian states for resolving economic and transport issues. These questions will improve the living standards of our people.
A legally binding convention that prevents Caspian nations from opening their borders to third-party aggressors such as the US or NATO, or allowing any foreign military presence at all on Caspian waters is a triumph for Putin. For Rouhani, a strategic display of Russian support is more pressing. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And news now from neighbouring Pakistan, where former cricketer Imran Khan has been sworn in as the new Prime Minister more than 2 decades after he entered politics. He was administered the oath of office by President Mamnoon Hussain at a ceremony held at the President House in Islamabad. Khan was tearful and smiled as he stumbled over some of the words of his oath. The chairman of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, who had captained the national cricket team to World Cup glory in 1992, also invited some of his former teammates to witness his formal ascension to the top ministerial job in the country. Besides Army Chief General Bajwa, former Indian cricketer Navjot Singh Sidhu, cricketer turned commentator Ramiz Raza, and former paceman Wasim Akram were among the special guests present at the ceremony. Khan was elected Prime Minister in a vote at the country's National Assembly on Friday. He secured 176 votes. A total of 172 votes in the 342-member lower house of parliament are needed to form a government in Pakistan. Time for a short break. News and updates will continue on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching World Panorama. Former Secretary General of the United Nations Kofi Annan passed away on Saturday at the age of 80. An official statement from the Kofi Annan Foundation was shared on Annan's Twitter handle, which declared his sad demise. Present UN Chief Antonio Guterres described Annan as a guiding force for good. The Nobel Peace Prize winner served as the UN Special Envoy to Syria and was the first black African to be appointed as the Secretary General. He served 2 terms in the post from 1996 to 2006. In 2016, Annan was named by the Myanmar government to head a panel to find lasting solutions to the conflict in Rakhine State, where human rights groups have documented widespread abuses against the minority Rohingya Muslims. Argentina's central bank raised the benchmark interest rate to 45% overnight on Monday after the peso tumbled to a record low following a corruption scandal that unnerved investors and emerging markets took a beating from Turkey's currency crisis. The bank raised the rate 5 percentage points to reduce the risk of a surge in inflation, but said it would keep the rate at this level until at least October. The increase comes after the peso tumbled to a record low of 30.70 per dollar on Monday. Argentina's currency fell 2.4%, closed at a record low 29.97 per US dollar on Monday, pressured by a corruption scandal that could damage the country's construction sector, while Turkey's financial crisis unnerved investors in emerging markets globally.
The Turkish lira declined sharply on August 10th. This hit the Argentine peso a lot less than it hit the lira. But yes, it hit the peso, bonds and Argentine stocks. And today, the central bank and the treasury announced not jointly, but at the same time, parallel policies to reduce the number of Lebacs on the market. The government understands similar instruments on the market like Lebacs, with short shelf lives, are a source of financial vulnerability because it concentrates the problem into very few instruments and very few days. So with this in mind, what came about was a plan to eliminate or reduce the stock of Lebacs, which are the central bank bills now through the end of the year.
The graft scandal rocked Argentine markets this month when a local newspaper revealed that a chauffeur employed by the previous government said he kept a record of his deliveries of cash from construction companies to government officials from the year 2005 to 2015. More than a dozen executives and officials from the administration of former President Cristina Fernandez have been arrested. Fernandez has immunity as a national senator. The South American country's Merval Stock Index was down 3.46% on Monday, while Argentina's dollar-denominated sovereign debt spread to comparable US treasuries widened by 46 basis points on Monday to 746.
I think we'll definitely see 6 months of this complicated situation, with a drop in activity, high rates, volatility in exchange rates, and a level of difficulty in financial markets. Not for financing the government, because despite all of this, the government's financial needs for this year are pretty much covered. The government doesn't need much more money. It needs very little money, and it's pretty much covered for this year. Therefore, there is not a serious probability of a default for this year, for example.
Argentina's central bank on Monday said it increased its key interest rate to 45% from 40%. The bank said it planned to set $500 million of its reserves in a bid to stabilize the peso. The bank also said it will issue less short-term debt. The International Monetary Fund said in a statement the decision to curb so-called Lebag debt issuance should remove an important source of vulnerability. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has declared a 12-month state of emergency around Genoa after a bridge collapse killed at least 41 people and severed the port city's mainland corridor with southern France. Conte said the tragedy was unacceptable in a modern society. A section measuring about 200 meters fell on the 14th of August. It's not yet clear what caused the disaster, but several explanations have been offered. The collapse that led to several deaths has led to a fierce debate in Italy about the nation's infrastructure. The Italian government has set up a commission to examine the causes of the disaster. The Morandi Bridge, which was constructed in the 1960s, has cables running directly from the deck to the top of the towers. The bridge carries a major road, the A10 toll motorway, which serves the Italian Riviera and also links northern Italy to France.
Abbiamo accolto la sua richiesta e decretato lo stato di emergenza per 12 mesi in conseguenza degli eventi che si sono verificati ieri mattina, 14 agosto 2018, a causa del crollo del viadotto noto come Ponte Morandi, e a tutto il personale anche sanitario che sta lavorando per recuperare alla pronta guarigione i feriti. Sono tragedie che sono inaccettabili in una società moderna, non devono accadere. Questo governo farà di tutto per evitare che tragedie del genere si verifichino nuovamente.
And time now to take a look at some of the sports news of this week. Proposals to revamp the Davis Cup into a season-ending 18-team event were backed by national federations at the International Tennis Federation annual general meeting in Orlando, Florida on the 16th of August. The makeover to one of sport's most famous and oldest international team tournaments has been a contentious issue within tennis, but the ITF's plans received the necessary two-thirds majority from its 210 member countries. Founded in 1900, the Davis Cup, considered the World Cup of tennis, has suffered in recent years because top players have found its format of several three-day ties featuring 5 set rubbers dotted during the season a draining distraction. American Brandt Snedeker shot the 10th sub-60 round in PGA Tour history when he carded 11 under par 59 in the opening round at the Wyndham Championship on the 16th of August. He became the 9th player ever to record 59 on the PGA Tour, while Jim Furyk holds the tour record with a 58. Furyk also has a 59, the only player with 2 sub-60s. Snedeker, 37, is an 8 times PGA Tour winner and a 2 times American Ryder Cup member. La Liga's organizing body has recently announced that it plans to hold regular season Spanish top flight games in the United States in near future. However, La Liga did not give any details on when the first game across the Atlantic was set to take place. Spain's biggest clubs, Real Madrid and Barcelona, recently returned from pre-season tours in the United States. Two-time champion Fernando Alonso announced on the 14th of August and said that he'll retire from Formula One at the end of the 2018 season, 17 years after he made his debut in the sport. The Spaniard won back-to-back drivers' titles in 2005 and 2006 with Renault before leaving for McLaren in 2007. His retirement will bring an end to a difficult 4-year period during which Alonso has failed to win a race. The 37-year-old, who has chalked up 97 podiums, hasn't won since the 2013 Spanish Grand Prix, the last of 32 career victories in F1. Legendary musician Aretha Franklin died on the 16th of August at the age of 76. In her over 50-year music career, Aretha Franklin won 18 Grammy Awards, sold more than 75 million records, and was the first female performer to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here's a tribute to Aretha Franklin's incredible achievements. Thanks for watching the show.
I am highly honored to be held in such high esteem, along with my peers and with my old friends. To be the first woman inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame